So this task is about closures. I mentioned closures in the talks before, but it wasn't the main topic, like rather in between. For example, in the IFI or in private and public or in the singleton talk. But this time it's about, specifically about closures. And the main question that was asked is, when do I use closures? And this question alone has been like very easy to answer. You can use closure everywhere. But in order to understand what I mean with this, I think it's best to answer this question by explaining what closures are, and then explaining the weird parts that comes with closures or with the JavaScript in general, actually. Okay, what are closures? Closures are actually, in the simplest form, functions. Specifically, functions that refer to a variable outside of its scope. For example,
semicolon.
And that's closure.
So what does it mean that is closure? So now we have a variable that is defined outside of the block, but it's still inside available.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever you write a function, and in this function you make a reference to a variable outside of this function, then it's a closure. And since everything it's like encapsulated in the global window object, and whenever you use the function, we are using a function like every day. So we are using closures every day without knowledge. So the question when we use closure is whenever you use a function that makes a reference to outside of its scope.
This is pretty much something that applies to almost all common languages, I would say so far, right? So something that is defined in the outside scope is available usually in the inside scope as well. Would you say that?
I think a certain language don't support this. Currently, I don't know which one, but
for example, Java, plain Java, that would be totally totally
public variable that you can access inside of the class.
Maybe it's best if I mean, it's like really simple, right? And maybe you have some doubts, and it's not like this. I want to show it to you that it's in fact a closure. So what I did is print out the directory of the function, and this Chrome, right? Yeah. Chrome has gotten this cool feature where you can inspect a function. So you see here there is a scope. I think this is it. And then here it's closure. So this function is a closure, and
in the window.
Whenever you and this is the parameter that it's closed. And that's why it's the name of it. It's the official definition is it's a function that retains the data or the information or the state and the scope. And this is the variable that it retains. So that's it, right?
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Is that all so far, or do you have more?
Of course I have more. Okay, it's like a really simple example, but most of the time, whenever you encounter like I want to give you a few examples show you the weird behavior of closures. For example, you've got this for loop, and want to do something with this, and let's say we do something like this. So what we have here is a loop variable, and inside there's a delay, and the function should be executed after 1 second. What do you expect the outcome would be?
I expect that after 1 second we get very quickly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Because they're executed almost immediately after each other, so therefore also the output will be almost immediately after each other.
Yeah. And what do you see? Let's clean it. What do you see here?
5 only.
Yes, exactly.
That's weird.
That's that's closure magic. And why it's like this? I think
it's closure magic or trash.
It's some part that makes okay. I put the variable in beginning. What was it? So, as you can remember, in the beginning I said a closure makes reference to the other variable, and it holds this reference. So, whenever I for example this function, exactly, it makes a reference. Yeah, it's a little bit more going on, but let me do it step by step. Okay.
This one was right.
Yeah, I want to copy it. Okay. Yeah. So it has got a pointer into to the address of this variable. So I can change this variable to and yeah, it will tell me another bar, even though it's defined afterwards. So it's here. It doesn't have a snapshot of this variable, but yes.
Exactly, I understand this, but why did we have the console log so weird?
Exactly for the same reason. It's called by reference. It's not. Yeah. So JavaScript has got one is called a heap and a stack, or a loop stack. And in the heap, JavaScript puts all the parts of the code that it's procedural, and all the other parts, or the delay part, or the asynchronous part, are put into this loop heap. I'm sorry, loop stack. Yeah. And so it executes first the heap and then the stack. So the heap.
What does that mean? What does that mean here? Actually, I really don't see it right now. Yeah.
The heap will be this. Will be only the for loop. So it will execute the for loop first. Then whatever is delayed, for example this here, will put into the stack. So since it executes the heap first, it will count from 1 to 5, and then afterwards we'll call this function.
Wow.
But then I is at the position is at the last position already, so it's 5. and then it will call this, and since I is 5, it will call 5 times.
Right.
Okay, now what do we have to do? We have to close the variable. So that's why you use closure. Okay, how do you do this? You put, as you may know, JavaScript doesn't have block scope, but function scope. So in order to create a scope, you have to wrap it around a function in order to create a scope. And we want to execute immediately, so we create an iffy. And then we pass in this I, and what it's doing here is, this is a function, this is actually a function, this brackets here, this brackets, and this brackets, it's a function, it's got, it takes an argument, that's I, and in this function, it creates another function, it's this one here. So this is a function declaration. So what I put in here will be a parameter, so I can call it whatever I want, like p. And this is where the different i's will coming in, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I will hold this, because this is a scope of its own. I can hold it like index, put it in a variable, like this.
But I don't need to do that. I could just console log now of p.
Yeah. Then can do it like this.
And don't forget the
semicolon. Okay, let's clean. Yeah.
Oh.
This is something that people like really don't expect usually. There's another. Can put another example. For example, if I create a button and have an on-click event here. So I want to print it. So what I want to do is whenever you click on counter, click on add, it should just add and add 1. See somewhere a button.
Okay.
Increment. Yeah, what happens?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Not what expected.
Yeah, it always counts to 1. And that's actually very easy to do.
Yeah.
Because whenever you call it,
Reinitialize.
yes, exactly. So we have to enclose it again to put the counter. Well, put the counter. Yeah, you can put it outside. Simple solution, just put it outside, and then here within this function you make a reference to this. So that's a closure again. You can do this.
Press escape. Cool. Nice.
Yeah, so whenever you, just imagine a closure, whenever you execute this, it creates a bubble of its own. And in this bubble, there's a space reserved. And then in this space, you can define the variables. And this then you can access this variable.
Cool.
And this variable can't be changed outside of its scope. Yeah, and this is the way you hold the variable. So and with disclosure you can do all kinds of stuff. You can, besides of the normal stuff that we do every day, you can create private and public variables, because as you know, in JavaScript there is no namespace, so you can't say the variable is private or public. But with closures you can encapsulate certain parts of the code and expose certain parts, so basically emulate private and public variables.
Can you demonstrate that with a small example?
Do we have time?
Already extended once. So
Okay.
Maybe another
But
time.
actually, I mentioned already.
Yeah, another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Okay.
Okay, but there's also drawback to this concept, because again, it creates a bubble, and this bubble has to release somehow, because otherwise you would create
Space.
after a while it gets like huge, so you have to release it somehow. And you release it by not pointing it to the variable anymore, because the JavaScript engine is smart enough to know whenever there's a reference somewhere to a variable, it holds that variable, and whenever there's no reference to this anymore, the garbage collector just deletes it from storage. But if there is somewhere a reference to it, then there's always be in the storage. So with JavaScript you can also have memory leak. This is what I want to say.
Memory leak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because just imagine the for loop in the beginning. Just imagine it's not 5 but 1 million, and every time you would create a small bubble of like 1 million
Scope.
times. Yes.
Cool. Just actually still a bit stuck. I was in the next. I was still a bit stuck with the first example with the for loop and the counter. That was really interesting, because it was. I was actually not aware of it until you showed it there. And the interesting thing is you need to kind of know that the thing you execute inside of the for loop is executed on another stack. And that's pretty deep knowledge actually.
I thought it was the same. I didn't know this till now.
I was also not aware of the different stack there, and that's actually pretty deep language knowledge already, I would say. So it's basically the set timeout runs on another stack, or how do you?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
But there's one thing I want to share. It's like really interesting. It's with ES6 and with ES6, because we want to introduce ES6 in our daily work. So this was the initial problem, right?
You didn't have the 0, I think, but yeah.
No, this
No.
was the one.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because whenever it's put in,
Okay. No, I get it. I thought it's just,
you can get whatever.
I get it.
So it's 5, and you can now we could solve this by having this closure. Actually, there's already a closure in here. Do you see it?
Well, the set timeout function.
No.
The function.
Yeah, the function, exactly. Yes, exactly. This is the closure already. Why?
It takes the I from the outside.
Exactly. So basically this is the closure already. But we have to wrap it around another closure. So what I just showed you before was 2 closures. But again, back to the main topic. Instead of wrapping around another closure, we can put let in here. And let holds this I in the local scope. And then, ta-da!
Wow, I'm not sure if I like it. That's such a huge difference on so little.
So little
clearance.
I understand the whole idea with that the closure inside the I inside the console has a reference point to I, and then since I at the end of the day is okay, sorry. So I understand the whole point between that the callback is executed once at the stack when it's popped at the end after the loop is executed. That's why it has a 5 because it referenced the last point of it. But what does let add to break this?
Yeah, as I said in the beginning, JavaScript has got function scope, not local scope. Let emulates. So whenever you write var, it would be like if you would do it like this, var outside in the global scope. What let is doing is it gives you opportunity to create block scope variable.
So I cannot be used out of this module.
Yes, exactly. So before you could use the I even here outside of the for loop. Side. Yeah, here you see. You actually see here it's execute this first because it's in the heap, and then it's in the stack. Even though this is executed and not executed but written first.
Yeah.
You see it?
Funky.
Yeah, that's
Welcome to JavaScript.
Cool.
Okay.
And now put it to let. Now did you execute it already with let?
Now.
And now maybe clean up first.
Yeah. No reference. It's because it's outside of scope. It's outside of the block scope.
It is still, however, called first. You see the console log outside?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Because of the set timeout.
Yeah.
So this doesn't
yeah,
change.
of course, it's a timeout. Yeah, sure. True.
I have a question. So the var definition of I inside of the loop or outside will not make a difference.
Yeah.
At
So
the
you
same
can.
time, this is a global definition either way.
Yeah. It's not a global, but it's outside whatever. Okay, currently it is the global because we've got nothing around, so it is the global. But you could here put a function. Then the var is not the global, but it's in the scope of this function. Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.